Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. I'm Lauren Belander along with Captain Rick here, and tonight, look at how big our audience is, full of some CCA members with us tonight.
Absolutely. It's got a full house. I love it, man. You know, you turn the school thing off and the people show up. How about that?
That's right. It's not a school night anymore. Okay. Guess who it's also not a school night for?
Dave Farrell.
No, it is a school night for Dave Farrell. He's not here, I guess. Because birthday boy, Captain Harry, is here for him at the Workbench.
I'm
Happy
here.
birthday.
We got some great, thanks for happy birthday. I'm 18 again, but we've got some good new stuff, new product here to light this party up here today.
All right.
So we've got some great stuff to go over, and we should have some fun here today.
You're absolutely right. I'm glad to have you here on your birthday. Harry.
Yeah, thanks for spending the big day with us.
Yeah, man.
All right, you know, Lauren,
better.
every week we have a theme species. This week obviously we're talking about trout. So we had always have a contest every week. This is Larry Jones from St. Lucie, caught this big trout off of his Pathfinder, and then Alan Sherman, the next picture, is with this little boy. We really encourage. This is Victor Rodriguez out of Biscayne Bay. He's 6 years old. Look at the size of that trout. That smile is big as a fish. And then, Lauren, you know what? Catching a trout is no stranger to you. This is the first trout I think you ever caught with me a few months back. But guess what? We were able to go a couple weeks ago, and you put the whooping on the snooks. And you know what? Just like you always do, I appreciate the support wearing the Guy Harvey wear. And you got your Trout Redfish shirt on there, as well as you have one on tonight in the tank top model.
Tank top model. This one's nice too, but it was a little windy for this one on the boat.
Well, I like this one because it shows off the guns.
Wow, I hit the gym. Speaking of gyms.
Okay.
Right?
That's it. Let's get started.
We're going to start the night off in the Central East with Captain Jim Ross. Now, Jim, unfortunately, the sea trout took a pretty big blow this past winter. Can you explain?
Well, you know, that was a couple winters ago, Lauren, but every winter it seems like they take another blow. This year they took a blow because we didn't really have a lot of them around because we had such a bad algae bloom last year. But you know what? We have them back. I had a fantastic day on the water on Wednesday, and the speckled trout are moving up and down the Indian River lagoons right now, and they're following the glass minnows and the finger mullet pods all through my area this week. They can be caught on just about anything that imitates a finger mullet or a glass minnow right now as well. Most of the anglers around here are using like the Rapala X-Rap size 6 and size 8 lures, and the olive green color is really good right now because it imitates those two bait fish. Another one of the lures that's working really good is the Saltwater Assassin 4-inch sea shad. That's one of my personal favorites as well. That one, if you put it on a 1/8 ounce or a 1/4 ounce hookup jig head, that seems to work really well. And right now, the trout are holding in about the 2 to 6 foot water in both of those lagoons. But you don't, so you know, basically, you don't want to overlook those deeper waters. A lot of people don't think 5 and 6 feet in the Central East region, but areas around causeways, spoil islands, and dredge holes work very, very well, especially if they're adjacent to the ICW channel. Right now, the 2 to 4 foot drop-offs in the Mosquito Lagoon are working the best for the guys that are using small pigfish and pinfish, and they're putting those under that Assassin quick cork float to keep them from hiding down in the grass. And the trout this week are going up to 25 inches. And, you know, speaking of 24, 25-inch trout, I've got one here that young Tyler Love caught with me. His first trip out, first speckled trout ever, only second time ever fishing, period. And he caught this nice one in the Indian River Lagoon just on Wednesday morning.
All right, Jim, before we go any further, I want to take a look at the Navionics from the Central East region, and I got to tell you, the one thing that really comes to mind here is we're talking about the area in the ICW just north of Sebastian Inlet. Now, what was happening is Captain Jim says right here by Hog Island, this whole eastern side, guys, of this particular part of the Intercoastal Waterway has got a lot of big trout. So you're going to want to go in there and actually throw topwater plugs. Now, if we take a look at the second chart, the second map, you can see all the different contours of the Navionics and the different soundings. Also along these intercoastal waterway right here, where we actually have these the spoil islands, there's a lot of big trout there. You want to use big live mullet. Now remember, guys, you can also use freshest data to get the latest updates from Navionics and the community layer to find out where guys are catching them. All right, Jim, what else you got for me inshore?
Well, you know, the big redfish are at it again this week, Rick. There's pretty good-sized fish in the 35 to 50-inch range. They're schooling up. A lot of the places you're going to find them are the Mosquito Lagoon and the northern Indian River. They're going to be on the edges of the shallow bars in the morning, and then they're going to work down off of those deeper flats in the midday periods. We're also finding them inside of Hall River Canal. Now, live pinfish, blue crab, and mullet rigged on a VMC circle hook have been working really good for those fish. And there's also oversized reds that are hitting on the outgoing tide at Sebastian and Ponce Inlet. Captain Glenn Austin was telling me that he's been pulling some big bull reds out of Sebastian Inlet. They're going from 15 to 30 pounds while using some live crabs this past week. Now, the slot-sized reds are taking the topwater plugs and the little storm chug bugs at dawn and dusk near the mangrove shorelines, all through the Vero through Grant areas of the Indian River this week. And then offshore, king mackerel, the Central East region, we experienced another cold water upwelling. Right after we talked about all those grouper that we were catching last week, bang, we got cold water. And it's moved the mackerel around quite a bit, too. It shut the bite down for 1 or 2 days as well. But the first portion of this week, the water's starting to stabilize. The king mackerel are starting to return back to those 70 to 90-foot reefs. Now, the better catches right now, though, of the bigger fish are coming from the 30 to 60-foot depths because they're hitting live pogies that you're pulling on a wire stinger rig. Those fish have moved inshore to get away from that cold water also because they spawned on this last moon. Now, pink and chartreuse-colored kingbusters or those new hookup lure live bait dusters seem to be working really good if you're fishing in the slightly dirtier water just off of the beaches. And also we have sharks, a lot of sharks, different kinds of sharks, and a lot of them are hitting on the nearshore waters of the CCA Central East region this week. Spinner sharks, black tips, golden duskies, and sharpnose are just a few of the kinds that you're going to find when you're slow trolling or drifting live baits in the 20 to 50-foot depths. You want to use a single hook if you can instead of those stinger rigs that I talked about with the kingfish because the sharks are a whole lot easier to get a single hook out of than they are that stinger rig. And you can also put more pressure on them and land them quicker. So if you want to get out there, catch you some sharks in the 10 to 30-pound range, you can get just off the beaches in the Central East CCA region. But you know what? There's some fish in my region right now, some sharks in particular, going up to 80 pounds.
Wow, sounds great, Jim. Good job. Way to start us off. Sounds like he's got it going on inshore and offshore. Let's take a look at the hot spots from the Central East region. Captain Jim says inshore, sea trout in 3 to 5 foot depths on the deeper flats and around the spoil islands adjacent to the ICW. You want to use small jigs, diving plugs, or assassin sea shad tails. Look for the gulls and the terns working the overactively feeding fish. And then offshore, slow troll live pogies in 20 to 40 foot depths near the Cocoa Beach Pier and a mixed bag of sharks, tarpon, bonitas, and jack crevalles, Lauren.
Okay, now we're off to the Panhandle. Captain Pat Deneen, it's already late June and it sounds like you still have a good trout bite up north. Is that right?
Yeah, Lauren. Usually, we catch trout up here year round, and usually our best trout fishing is in the springtime. But like you said, it's late June, and the Bay guys are reporting a really good trout bite. Captain Wes Rozier in Pensacola, he reports these afternoon thunder showers that push the trout out of the upper bay system into the lower bay Pensacola system. And they've been catching plenty of big female trout in 1 to 3 foot of water on sand, inshore of the grass beds, and then a lot of schooly male trout in 3 to 5 foot of water on the deep side of the grass beds. Wes says the trout bite is definitely on. Captain Chuck Kemper in Navarre, he's been fishing Santa Rosa Sound using maridines and a shrimp under a cork. And he says they've been catching quite a few flounder as well on the sand patches. But again, he's targeting the sand patches around the grass beds. And then Captain Daniel Pike in Choctawhatchee Bay here in Destin, he's also been targeting the sand near the small sand grass patches using live baits, either free lining a live bait or fishing a menhaden under a cork and catching some really pretty trout. And then all the way to the east, Captain Brent Remedi of Blue Water Outriggers. Again, he's fishing the potholes and the channels around Pig Island and Black's Island using a live LY under a cork or a live LY with a split shot to kind of slow it down a bit. But bottom line is, the trout fishing this year has been better than average by a long shot, and they've been catching plenty of 24 to 30-inch fish. And it sounds like a springtime report, but it's definitely summertime right now. So the trout bite is good.
Sounds like there's been some really good cork soaking going on up there,
There's
Pat.
a lot of cork soaking going on, Rick. But what I really like is the tarpon fishing, and they're starting to show up throughout the region. Over to the east, Apalachicola Bay, they're catching plenty of them in West Pass and Indian Pass and also along St. Vincent Islands by targeting the pogie schools in the passes and beaches and fishing with either a live or a dead pogie on the circle hook. But they're also getting some fish in the upper bay system north of the causeway by casting lip plugs and looking for rolling fish and fish up on the surface. But the fish are really filling in throughout the whole region. We're seeing plenty of schooling fish between South Walton County and Navarre, Pensacola. And don't step on the fish with your boat. Drift up on them and cast a live LY or a live
You there, Pat, or we lose you? All right, I think we lost Captain Pat. So he was talking about fishing the tarpon off of the beaches there using L-wise. And then offshore, Captain Pat says basically you're going to go king mackerel fishing. You're going to go the buoy line in Mexico Beach is just off of where the kings. You want to slow troll and free line cigar minnows and herring. Use diving, hard diving plugs like the Rapala Magnums 20 in the green, black, or even the mackerel color is also producing some really nice kingfish. And then the kings further offshore, west of Walton County, Destin, Santa Rosa County are becoming dependable over the natural bottom and around the bait schools. And he spoke with Captain Larry Pinta of Dead Fish Charters in Grayton Beach, and he has been getting some good king bites on the larger natural bottom spots just off of the beach. And then the schools of cigar minnows are stacked up just off the second sandbar, and the kings are right behind them. The average kingfish in the Panhandle region is 10 to 12 pounds. And then red snappers is a second species offshore. Closing in federal waters on the 28th of this month, and the state waters open up next month. The red snapper season seems to be going pretty well up there in the Panhandle region. Fishing has been good in the state waters on the natural bottom and even public numbers. And the pressure from the public spots have lightened up your leader, and that will actually increase the bites. Even if you go down to 30, and you might want to use just a minimal amount of weight to get your baits down. On his boat, they've been fishing 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader with no lead, using dead bait or slightly dead cigar minnows. I don't know what the difference between a slightly dead and a dead cigar minnow is, but we'll have to ask Pat that. Next week, 2040 Circle VMC hooks. Free lining them is really catching 6 to 10 pound snappers. He has a photo here, a mess of snappers caught by these two young girls a few days ago, as well as he caught these out of his bay skiff in 60 feet of water using spinning gear. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Panhandle hotspots, the blue water outriggers hotspots from the Panhandle region. Captain Pat says inshore, speckled trout in the lower Pensacola Bay system on the grass flats using mirodines and other suspending hard baits. And then offshore, the spur has some blue-green water, but the tunas, dolphins, wahoos, and marlin are being caught. Pay attention to the surface structure and the bait on your sounder, Lauren.
Okay, well, thanks for picking it up for Captain Pat.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was so much cork soaking in the Panhandle.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's everywhere in the whole state of Florida.
All right, nice. Okay, guys, well, stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to head to the northeast with Captain Russell, and we'll also hang with Harry at the Workbench. And you guys can try your luck at winning a sea of cash with the Florida Lottery Guy Harvey scratch-off ticket, featuring a top prize of $50,000, over $20 million in instant cash prizes, and Sportsman Paradise Second Chance promotion, which includes the chance to fish with Guy Harvey himself.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Lottery, Yeti Coolers, wildly stronger, keep ice longer, best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply, Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company, Chevy, the IGFA, conservation through education, get your hands wet, and Olukai.
Listen, this Chevy Silverado is not happy. It's not happy because it's not doing anything. Because it knows you have a to-do list with unchecked boxes. Because it was built to constantly be on the prowl to get more done. Patience is not the Silverado's virtue. Doing is. The dependable, reliable Chevy Silverado.
It's 200 streamlined horsepower of Yamaha forward thinking. The all-new F200 inline four-stroke. Whether you're an offshore angler, pontoon cruiser, bay boater, or walleye hunter, the responsive and fuel-efficient F200 combines amazing power and versatility in one incredibly compact and lightweight package. The all-new F200. Legendary Yamaha reliability and the freedom of forward thinking.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector's Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
Deep within Key Largo, you'll see things that may surprise you. From the unspoiled wilderness of the Florida Everglades to the tranquility of John Pennekamp State Park. Look below the surface, and you'll find more depth in Key Largo.
Now let's go over our news and notes from the FWC. This Saturday, June 29th, is the Kids Fishing Clinic in Cape Canaveral. You can find more information at myfwc.com. Right now, it's time for Off the Deep End.
Boy, it's good to be back in the studio. I missed Lauren and I missed the workbench, and here we are at the Jägermeister, so we're talking about trout. What are we going to do to catch them, Harry?
Man, we've got all some kinds of good stuff here. You know, this is something that's been around for a little while here. This is the old Bass Assassin rattling float here.
Oh, yeah.
This is something that I went fishing with the family one day, and they were catching, everybody's catching trout but me, because I was just using a regular shrimp casting it. I went back to that little float, and just something you cast out, and just pop it, pop it, pop it, and the trout just go crazy. You use a short piece of 20-pound mono, put a shrimp on the end of it, or whatever type of lure that you want at the time.
Yeah,
some people use a jig, live shrimp, a live bait, pilchard, whatever. But whatever, this noise and this action in this thing is just off the chart. It really gets them going big time. And you can also take this particular guy, which is great about this float. You can can change it if it gets torn up, and you can go ahead and slide on a new one.
Yeah, Bass Assassin, when they sell you these, they sell you an extra
cork, which is really good. Float cork, which is really good. I mean, this is just great for shallow water, just chugging around and stuff like that. This is something I really enjoy using is a surface popper. To me, noise. I think if it's a choppy day and it's a little nasty out there, I don't really like using them that much. But if it's flat, calm, and you want to create some noise and everything, and you wing that baby out there and just chug, 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 and you'll get some of the best strikes in the world. I mean, those trout will just air out on that thing, and it's normally they're pretty good sized trout that hit those guys.
There's no doubt that the trout loves the top water chug. You know, obviously we've got weighted lures now. Guys are starting to put them rattles in the corks.
And the corks and everything just to do it. And it's just what's great about this style cork here, and there's obviously different sizes that you always have. These come weighted now. So if you're using small baits, small shrimp or something, you can cast these out pretty far, get them out, get away from the boat, and get a good spread out there. So that's what's great about using the different sizes and everything like that. It works good.
Now, not often is the top water work. You know, when it gets cold, a lot of times they're a lot more lethargic. What do you like to use?
You got to go to a jig. You got to go to a bucktail or a shrimp with a heavier, with a head on it, something that you're going to be able to get down with.
Right.
Which is very important. You can go to a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce sometimes, just depending on, when it's cold, they go to these deep holes that are out there, and you got to work those areas, and that's where the jigs and bucktails and all that stuff work really, really well.
Now, Harry, artificial plastics have been something that has really evolved in the last few years. Your Bass Assassin makes a variety of paddle tails. They make 5-inch jerk baits. But then we also have now new scented plastics.
Oh, you got this stuff here is like cheating. This is like, to me, I call it catnip. You throw this out there, and they look. Do you really want to open that?
You got to cut it.
Yeah, but this has a scent, and whatever they're using, it just drives the fish crazy.
Right.
And I mean, they will just go nuts over it. I mean, trout, redfish, jacks, whatever's around. You want to have fun? I can't believe you did that. Oh, no way. Ugh.
But
happy birthday for me on that.
It really doesn't taste
like I said, it's worse than catnip. This stuff is good. He's going to be throwing up later.
It might get me a little later.
Yeah, it's going to get you later. Oh my God. But anyways, this stuff here, he's crazy. Different styles. The particular one that you're eating is a new paddle tail that they've just come out with. It's a shrimp with the paddle tail.
Right.
And flavors, colors. The new penny with the hot tail that you have in your mouth there is a real good one. The chicken, they call it the
electric chicken.
The electric chicken is a real good one that we've used out here in this area, which works real well. A lot of the guys use them, and they love them a lot. and it works really good. Now, if they're not biting, things are tough, go to your fluorocarbon leaders, and I don't go any heavier than 20-pound test.
Oh, is that right?
Trout do have
20 pound.
teeth, 20-pound. You'll catch every kind of trout in the world out there. Some people might think it's a little heavy, but I think it's light. Ugh. But it's your breath smells now. But anyway, don't wipe it on me now. Yeah. I gotta go home.
The key to it, and this is my opinion, and you guys, you have to understand this, the key to all of this is to make sure that you cover ground. Don't you agree? I mean, you drift and drift and drift. When you find a fish, you want to anchor.
Work that area.
Shallow water anchor, put your talon down,
right.
Whatever it is. Harry,
make it work.
Good job over here. We got stinky things, we got corks, and we're actually
now I'm going to go
things.
home and smell like something, so at least my wife will know I went fishing tonight.
All right, Lauren, by all means, bail us out over here.
Well, I just want to know, does it taste like chicken? Right.
No, it didn't.
No, yeah.
I want you to know for sure.
You don't see Harry nauseated too often on this show, but all right then. Next, we're going to stop into the Northeast region with Captain Russell Theron. We can find spotted sea trout in your region pretty much year-round. Is that right, Russell?
That's right, Lauren. And hey, Rick. Hey, how are you guys doing? The spotted sea trout are some of the most popular species that we fish for here in Northeast Florida. And just like the redfish, you know, they're a drum species also. They don't migrate. And just like you just said, Lauren, they're here all year round. Now, our favorite time of year to fish for the sea trout are in the spring when they spawn and during the fall, during the mullet run. Some of the most popular ways to catch sea trouts are by using live shrimp and float rigs. Now, the best time of day to catch the trout here in our region are going to be at sunrise and sunset unless it's overcast. A good tide is just after the high when the tide starts going out. Target the creek mouth. Now, the sea trout are light sensitive, so they'll hold the bottom on bright days. Now, during low light, at times, trout will suspend in the middle of the water column looking up to silhouette their bait, you know, on the surface. That's why topwater plugs do so very well. Now, if you want to catch sea trout, you want to fish in all three water columns, the top, the bottom, and the middle. Typical size of the trout in our region always go between 1 and 3 pounds, and a gator trout is considered over 5.
All right, Russell, it sounds like your trout fishing's really good. What else you got inshore, bud?
Well, I'm keeping an eye open for the tarpon as the tarpon move inshore. Some of the tarpon have been jumped behind the shrimp boats by the shark fishermen. Inshore, the best tarpon bite occurs the last 3 hours of the flood tide. Now, what you want to do is target the deep holes in the rivers and creeks like the Nassau River or North River, just north of St. Augustine. Now, what you want to use is fresh pogies for chumming, and the tarpon rig is the same as the Carolina rig with a 30-pound main line and enough weight to hold the bottom. You want to use either a 5/0 or a 7/0 VMC circle hook. The best bait will always be a fresh whole pogie. Typical size of our tarpon is going to run anywhere from 60 to 120 pounds. Now, going offshore, well, boy, I tell you what, they've been having some really good reports, and there's some good kingfish tournaments coming up here in the next couple of weeks, actually next month. Got a great kingfish report from Jack Ogan. And Jack has been catching kingfish on the beach in 35 to 50 foot of water. Now, he's also been going out to the party grounds in 70 to 110 feet of water offshore. Now, Captain Jack is slow trolling, and he's also drifting the pogies, goggle eyes, and ribbon fish. Rigged with 20 to 25 pound test line fluorocarbon tied to a number 4 VMC treble hook. Also, the kingfish have been averaging anywhere from 15 to 35 pounds. Now, I have a photo of Jack Ogan and his 2 daughters, Larissa and Jenna, and their son, Jared. And they had a family fun day of fishing. They caught several kingfish, and at one time they had a double hookup. Both kingfish ran in opposite directions. Now, that's what it's all about.
You're right, Russell. Sounds like some good kingfishing. What else you got for us offshore, bud?
I tell you what, Rick, because of the lack of bait pods on the shore, near shore, or on the beach, the sharks and the tarpon, but mainly the sharks, have really been all over the back of these shrimp boats. Of course, they're feeding on their discharge or their bycatch that they sweep over. Now, the black tips will also hit topwater plugs. I love using a big 5-inch Rapala skitter pop in the mullet pattern, rigged with a number 7/0 wire. Some of the best and most consistent ways of being able to catch blacktip sharks behind this shrimp boat is to use a fresh bonita strip or a fresh pokey. And all you got to do is just free line your bait into the prop wash behind the shrimp boat. Always have a couple of spinning rods rigged and ready. Keep an eye open for some bonita. Now, they might not be right behind the shrimp boat, but you'll see them off the side, and they're always a hoot to catch. Typical size of our blacktip are going to run anywhere from 20 to 100 pounds. And sorry, Rick and Mike couldn't get Mr. Blacktip to sign the photo release here with our photo of a nice blacktip coming alongside.
Good job, Russell. Great report. Sounds like he's got some good fishing going on there, Lauren. Let's take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Captain Russell says, inshore, target redfish on the last of the ebb tide this weekend along the ICW and creeks. Start fishing at first light. You're going to have to get up early. Offshore, catch blacktip sharks using fresh pogies on or a Boston mackerel free-lined in the prop wash behind the shrimp boats.
All right, Kathy, you are not going to like Captain Bait Breath when he gets home.
Got a little something going on there.
Oh, dear. When we return, we're going to check in with Ron Houston in the Southwest and Mike Holliday in the East. And remember to check out our website, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Chevy FIFR TV. There's plenty more to come on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.